What is up? What's up, Jay?
You're killing me today. You're killing me.
You're killing me today. Hold on a second.
That's double killing. We ready.
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm damn ready.
I am ready.
Thank you.
Welcome to Always On, the Tonya and Jay podcast.
What's
We're
up?
back.
What's up?
We're back. Mr. DJ, we still got our music and everything.
Well, we got a hot studio.
Yes.
We're excited about it. It's
BKS
brand
One
new.
Radio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Doing the social distancing thing.
Yes.
So step back.
And relax.
Be black. Well, we're launching season 3.
Season 3, y'all.
You can't believe it. How many shows did we do?
Probably about, I said 50, but I'm sure there's more than
Yeah, we did at least 50 in the can. So if you missed them, you can just go where?
YouTube, we're everywhere. Apple, Google, Stitch, I don't know, everywhere.
Apple TV, and now where are we live right now?
We're at BKS One Radio.
Okay, and what else?
Right?
All right.
So definitely you can check us out there.
And we're live and streaming on your IG.
Live, and we're ready to rock.
Well,
and
we have a
roll.
lot to talk about, right?
Yes,
and we got guests parked in. What's up, guests? Can you hear us?
Everybody clap. Yep.
I gotta
bring it
look
in,
up.
bring it in.
I gotta look up.
Oh,
Got my
no.
bald spots. My angles are off.
Okay. Yep. Okay, there you go. All right, so hello, guests. How are you?
We need 2 of those, but that's okay.
Hello, everybody. Now, I'm trying to.
Everybody.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to get this music thing down.
I got that.
All right.
Just sneak it down.
Oh, yes.
Sneak it down.
Well, it's not a Friday, but it's a Thursday, and we here.
Oh, Thursday's the new Friday. Hello.
Everything's new with COVID-19 around.
Yeah.
So check it out.
The big P.
Yes, we're going to start this on and popping. We're right on time for the first time in a long time.
Well, we try to keep it popping, as they say. I don't know if they say that. It might be an old term.
I don't know. So let's look at our guests here. We got plenty of guests here. We got a lot of things to talk about and everything. We have Mr. Frank Dunham. Wait a minute, I've got hand claps.
Tonya already booking. What did he say?
Don't talk about me.
Why not? Why not?
Don't talk about me.
Steve Cohen confirmed.
Don't talk about
What's
me.
up, peeps? I got to talk about it, right? That's how we roll. That's
All right,
love.
So we got Frank Dunham.
Do the intro.
Yes, he is definitely one of the top producers, play producers, owner and creator of Creative Stages, right?
Creative Stages
Yes.
Entertainment. That's
Entertainment,
it. That's
yes,
right.
yes.
Nah.
We also have Jennifer Mary Means, right? Means?
Mirror.
I'm getting you two mixed up already.
The peers mirrored.
That's right. So I'm going to give you a hand clap on that one right there. I like this button right here. Then we have Chris Means. Chris Means is helping people get out there and vote.
I'm helping people get out there and vote.
I love that. Got that hand clap for you there too.
I voted. I did 3 hours on Sunday.
I got the shirt. See it? See the shirts? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm in there tomorrow morning at 7:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about
Be
this
patient.
voting. Yeah. Well, wait a
Pack
minute.
your
You
patience.
voted? You voted
I did.
already?
My early voting place was 102nd Street and Broadway. Where you going? In Manhattan. Where's your spot? Chris.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Brooklyn, so I'm going to Prospect Park.
Oh, okay. All right.
Going over by the Brooklyn Museum.
Oh, we love the Brooklyn Museum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We love that. And
I
you?
sent my absentee vote in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Ah.
that's good. You trust it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I submitted. It was the same day. I got it, and I took a picture of it, and I posted it, and I'm looking at the post, and I'm like, damn, my whole address is on there. Let me just...
Well, they have a tracking,
Put it
so
in
it's
your
all good.
mailbox, or did you drop it off?
I dropped it off. I had to go all the way to Regal Park.
Oh, okay.
Because I still have my parents' address, so I had to go to Regal Park.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's where the media was staked out, I think. That's Queens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about you, Miss JMM? JMM?
I live in the Bronx. I live in Riverdale.
Okay.
And I'm going to be going to a local school over there to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot wait until
know.
I do that. It is a fundamental right and a freedom that we get to have and exercise in voting. So yes.
Oh, definitely. Most
Present.
definitely. Most definitely.
Well, as you could tell by the lines and by how you sounded and everyone saying what they did, that we're taking it very serious.
oh, look, 101 and 110, 104-year-old ladies are out there voting. So they're
And
taking
men.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
they're taking it serious.
Yeah, it's a serious situation. So that's all good.
Nah.
You know, you're gonna be live when you do your cast your vote, because I saw so many people when I was standing online. You know, I was making friends because everybody was working the social media. They're like taking pictures of the line, they're IGing it. It's kind of a big thing.
So what?
Look, next time I vote, I'm definitely going to stream it live, because when I went during the primaries, there was a gentleman in front that asked me for my voter card.
Mhm.
And he was trying to deter me from coming in to vote.
Wow.
He was like, I've never seen you here before. And he was like, do you have your your card? And I was like, I don't need a card to vote. And I could already see that little things may be in place.
Oh, wow.
So we get to be conscious about what's in the space, what's in our ecology.
Ah.
Well, they're talking about it, so I guess that's a serious thing. They're like, be careful about some of the, not just the voter suppression, but some of the tactics of intimidation. That
Right.
sound like that could have been intimidation,
That
unless he
was
was just
intimidation.
trying to.
That was
No,
definitely,
intimidation.
Yeah,
Joy
exactly.
Reid is talking about it right now. She's saying how these militia groups are making it their business to have a presence there at the polls to make sure everything is in order.
But I made sure my voice was known. When I
Mhm.
went inside, I was like, there is a gentleman, a volunteer in the front that asked me for my voter registration card.
Uh-huh.
And I've been living here for over 20 years. And, and so they took care of that. But we get to use our voice
Wait a
and
minute,
speak up.
Did you put him on video? Do you have pictures or video or anything like that? You should
I
have
wasn't even thinking of it at that time.
But she said she's-
now I see, I was able to get the temperature of what this election is going to be about.
Right. Wow.
And isn't that weird? Because
Isn't it?
we're all in the tri-state area, and
Right.
outside of being in New York, we're deemed a blue state, but
Right.
still there's still voter
Right.
intimidation that's happening in a blue state. That's just crazy.
I'm not well. Times are different now, but yeah, there's
It-
definitely times
you
are
know,
different
this
now,
is-
and this election is different.
You
More
know,
different.
what was something? Everyone's constant. Really worried about that. Even though, like you said, it's a blue state. That's why when I was standing online, I was like, well, it's a 3-hour wait, but everybody here is blue. But there's got to be a little bit of something going on. When I was standing online, actually, somebody threw stuff at us.
What?
So it is out there.
It is out there.
A
Wow.
blue state or whatever the case may be. And the great thing about it is, I guess someone's joining.
Somebody's calling in.
Stand by for technical.
All right, there's a caller
Grab
for
it.
315.
Just hang up.
Okay.
All right, hey caller, welcome to Always On Podcast with Tonya and Jay. What's up?
Well, hey, it's my name's Mike. I usually only ever get a chance to hear the Man Cave in the Morning Show, so I'm excited that I finally get a chance to listen. And I
Well, thank
hear
you.
you talking about.
Thank you very much.
Where you calling
Well,
from?
I was really.
Like, what's his name? Where you calling from?
My name's Mike. I live in upstate New York. Sorry, I'm talking too fast.
Oh, that's okay. Take your time.
So what's up?
I heard you talking about voter suppression, how it's mostly a blue state, and I want to throw something into the pot to kind of consider about that, though, because I think there are aspects of that are very untrue. I have Norman Wu know kind of some about me, but I have a little farm with horses. I live in the rural, like really rural part of New York, and driving around, I still see Confederate flags in my tiny town.
Wow.
And there's huge Trump trains that drive all over the place, miles long, honking their horns, flying their flags and stuff like that. There is that aspect of New York that should not be forgotten, or how should I put it? I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for.
Well, let's see if Chris can answer that. What do you think, Chris?
Well, to piggyback off that, I think the caller's name is Mike.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, this past weekend I was out in the Montauk, East Hampton area, and
Are you asking?
you literally saw trucks. Yeah, I counted on my way out there probably 6 different trucks, like with these huge Trump flags, NRA flags, and you could see that there was a concerted effort to kind of I won't call it intimidation, but they were letting it be known that there were Trump supporters and that they were very adamant about displaying who they were rooting for in this fight.
Oh, I'm gonna go one up on that. I think it was last weekend, right here, not far, Kenilworth. I was driving through Kenilworth, and at the stop sign, and a whole bunch of trucks. It was like a parade. Trump, 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 Confederate flags, Trump. I mean, it was just a display. It wasn't an intimidation. It was just them displaying what they liked, who they wanted to vote for.
Right.
Which is fine. Hey,
Yeah,
exactly.
you get behind whomever you want to.
Right.
But it was quite interesting, to Mike's point, that you're seeing a concerted effort on one, but you're starting to see, that there are people who, and Trump being from New York, and, he was one time a Democrat or a supporter of the Democrats, and now he's trying to just, squash democracy. And you know what? He has a fan base, and they're out there, right. And it's something to that's interesting. So is it a possibility that we're going to change blue? I doubt it, but we definitely are seeing that he definitely has a strong base.
But you have to be aware, right? I mean, that's part of why so many people are getting involved in this election this year, and we don't want to take for granted the numbers.
Right.
The
right.
polls don't lie,
Hundreds
I guess you might say.
thousands.
What do you think, Frank? What do you think, Jennifer?
I mean, I
about
agree
Mike?
in regards to being conscious of New York State, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where we go apple picking or go through the cornfields during this time. I remember the last time I went up there, that's when I saw Sarah Palin signs. And it was like, it's only an hour away from the city. It's not, you're not that far.
Right.
And you feel the difference. You can feel the thickness in the air. And I mean, but I am saying, New York is a blue state, and I would call my friends that are in swing states and talk to them and see what's going on. And
to the blue.
Yeah.
Right.
And are you going to make the intelligent vote? That company is Mary Made Me, and we're doing an intelligent vote campaign because it's about making the intelligent vote.
Oh, really? I haven't heard of that campaign. Where can people find out information on that?
Mary Made Me Media. It's on social media. We're doing a short film. The day of that we're going to vote, and it's going to drop that day. And it's about really making the intelligent vote from an ancestral point of view, right?
Wow.
Especially being people of
that.
color. Making a decision that's about your legacy, your life, your future. Right. There's no two evils. There's not, there's not two evils. There's an evil. Right.
Well, that's the buzz, right? I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna follow up with that really quick, Jennifer, because that's the buzz. The women. We were talking about that in our production meeting, right? We were like, we gotta find out the women of color and what's happening. I don't know if Mike saw it in the long lines, or you or anybody saw in the long lines of the Trump lines. Were there mainly men? Were they
women,
older
color?
men?
Yeah.
Or were there any women?
What's the demographic?
What I saw was mostly men. There were men
really
in trucks.
Young? Because the big voting capture seems to be young men, young women, or younger voters, and women of colors.
Yeah, exactly.
So the lines that I've seen here in Harlem have been young people, male and female, and women.
Right.
That's what I saw here in Harlem. Women, all ages, elderly, middle-aged, but a lot more young people.
All right, so Chris, how are you getting people out there to vote? First of all,
I'm going very grassroots. I've attended a couple of voter registrations in Bed-Stuy. I've been at Restoration Plaza handing out these T-shirts.
All right.
Save Your America.
Save Your America. Go
My,
vote.
my parents and I have we put this slogan together. We made up a bunch of T-shirts and we're just handing them out. I mean, I'll go and walk around with with a bag of T-shirts and talk to anyone who's interested and give them a T-shirt.
And what's the result? How's the reaction been?
There's a lot of excitement, and I think everyone can see that by the number of early voting that's taken place across the country. I'm from Indiana, and that's a red state. It went blue once when Obama was first nominated. But my parents actually right now are working the polls in Indianapolis, Indiana, and it's been really interesting. And something Jennifer said, no matter how you're voting, be smart about what you're voting or who you're voting for. Know what you're voting for.
Right.
My mom, she was a little disheartened and sad about the number of people that she's encountering at the polls who, for whatever reason, let's just say they're voting for Trump, especially the young people and young people of color. They're voting for Trump. And they don't know why, except for the fact that he's a celebrity.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, she was like, woman was almost in tears when I talked to her yesterday morning about like what she's seeing in regards to the younger voters who are, and she can tell by the conversations, one, they don't know how to vote. Right. So they're coming up to her, asking her, how do I do this? What do I do? And she's glanced and seen, where they're going, or they don't know if they can vote in one category or if they have to be straight ballot, straight down the ballot.
Right.
So it's been really interesting.
So
and,
if you were to give somebody some tips right now on education, what would you say? And let's take it from Frank and then with Jen and then Chris. What would you say?
Well, Jay, I feel really bad that you asked me that question because that's exactly what I wanted to say. What more can we say to our people? I've heard the wildest opinions about why not to vote in the Democratic Party. The wildest things. A friend has said she knew someone's aunt who passed away, and they asked her if, do you want to list it as COVID? And she said, well, we know that she didn't die from COVID, but you have an option to choose whether you can or not. And then she said, see, that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. That's why I'm not voting for him. I'm voting for Trump. Oh. Well, and it was just that way of thinking. There wasn't anything that I could say to like change your mind, because it was like the two conversations are two different things.
Right.
But I was trying to tell her that's not a reason to not want to vote for the Democratic Party. It's like she goes, yeah, but what he's doing for the economy. I'm like, the economy is the way it is because the House that's running everything, this is what they've done. We're not in very good positions about anything. There isn't anything positive. I see these commercials with these blacks for Trump, Latinos for Trump. And I'm like, are we on the same planet? Do they not see what I'm seeing? Are they not hearing the results of this behavior of the man in office right now? It's that of a spoiled child. If I don't get my way, well, I'm going to do revenge. Now we have this like whole mobster type mentality. And yet they're still very adamant about it. I posted pictures of these black women from the Bronx and Harlem who were like pure Trump supporters. They're in their wheelchairs. They got their walkers. I couldn't understand it.
Well, it sounds kind of funny but you know what? It's an undercover Trump current out there of African American, especially African American men.
They're not going to come out.
The numbers are increasing.
Right. They're not going to come out saying they're going to vote for him. They're going to put their ballot in and they're going to vote.
Yeah, and the men. I don't think it's the women as much, but the men seem to be bending a little bit more towards, President Trump
Yeah.
for the economy. So I don't know if it's blindsided or what, but I guess they have their arguments for that defense. What do you think, Jan, as far as color and minority and men? Do you hear that too? Because
this is such a loaded question in regards to what Trump is, and I mean, besides touching on mental health issues, right, and knowing that that's present, just our democracy and what he's doing in regards to our democracy, and Black people and all of us really understanding the freedom it is in choice, right? We have choice. We have sovereignty. We have agency. We have Black agency, and we are in choice and using our vote as a right to choose. First of all, just the energy, the domestic terrorism that happened prior to COVID. If we ever think about all the schools that were shot, all the domestic terrorists that came in shooting all those kids, those were not people of color. Why was that happening in that group, in his base? Why was his base doing that? And just in regards of decency, the way this administration handled COVID, just in that alone, in regards of being outward focused, when you are in that type of position and you're not outward focused to care about something outside of you, right there. I mean, that is just common sense. Like, no matter if you're Democrat, Republican, the man doesn't care about human life. And so we get to think about that. Like, how many people died? And yet he's going to rallies with no mask on. And it's like, what kind of president is this? So we really get to, think about, okay, we touched a wound. We know that his presence was a gift for us to have an awareness of where we really are as a culture
as
and
a country.
As a country, right? As a country with what we haven't healed from our trauma, both Black, both white, both
all colors, men, women,
everybody. Like, yes, my ancestry was slaves, and your ancestries were murderers. Like, we both get to look at that, and we can heal together and create a sense of oneness. But I also subscribe to Trump to get his information and even his language. His language is bad and wrong. Like, you didn't read 3 of my texts. Like, if we even look at textbook abusers, that's what we have. And it's like this country is not aware that we are being abused and we are loving our abuser. And It's time to vote him out.
Yep, it's time to go. Time to go.
Time to go.
But Chris, you see how how passionate Jennifer is, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But you see also the impact of this election with COVID and politics, how it's digging into the financial world. So people are saying, the economy is great, but it's digging into the financial world, it's digging into schools, it's digging into just the overall politics. What do you think about how it's being handled? Trump's rallying, Biden's rallying, but how this pandemic is impacting our elections. How big of a deal is it?
Well, just
it's
like
a killer.
There's a couple of things. We're moving the goalpost. When did it become acceptable that it was okay? At this point, I think I saw earlier today, 228,000 people have died as a result of COVID.
And more.
A pandemic
Still going.
that could have been, it wasn't going to be avoided, but it could have been stemmed. When you have a president who throws out the manual for handling a pandemic, you're throwing out the blueprint for how to handle a situation that is, likely to come. And then you find that, okay, it's going to go away. We're going to minimize it with, about one life is one life too many.
Exactly.
We're talking 228,000 lives and counting.
You know,
And so you know, a person who can come into office riding the wave of, you know, significant economy, riding and wanting to disband a healthcare policy that
Still don't
has
have a plan.
saved, you know, money and financial, you know, and, you know, pre-existing conditions. Do you now know that anybody who survives COVID, and, you know, and I have a 90-year-old aunt who has survived COVID,
God
you
bless
know,
her. God bless her.
you know, and anyone who's had it, that's now a precondition, you know, that's a precondition.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we now get rid of the Healthcare Act, what are those people going to do? How many more people are going to find it hard to be able to afford affordable health care? Right. It's, you know, it's
What's
We
gonna,
I'm at a loss of words sometimes.
I think America's at a loss of words right now. I mean, you know, for the whole.
But you know, the bigger thing also is that people haven't educated themselves, you know, about like what's going on, why maybe someone else should be given a consideration for being president and handling this. You know, Malcolm X said it years ago. You know, and I'm talking to, you know, people of color, or I'm talking to a lot of people. You want to hide things from Black people, put it in the pages between a book cover. You want to know, you want to know, or you want to avoid knowing about what the crime bill was and what was actually good about that crime bill and why Biden, you know, he was a supporter of it. But guess what? The entire Black caucus was on board with it. The entire Senate, the entire Congress. There were a lot of people who signed on to this because there were provisions in there that protected women, that banned assault rifles, that banned pedophilia, you know, aspects of pedophilia. But they want to paint one provision or one thing that, oh, this is why we shouldn't vote. That right there is just pure unadulterated ignorance.
So what do you think when people say, well, what's Biden going to do when he comes into office?
Well, right now, Biden, you know, listen,
if he gets into office,
let's just say Biden wins.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully he does.
Okay.
Right now, we have somebody who is wrecking and now extending the work that he's going to have to do.
Oh my God, it's going to be more than 8 years.
Yeah, it's going to be more than 8 years. And you know, listen, you know, there are people who are like, you know, since he was associated with Obama, listen, oh, Obama didn't do this for Black people. Obama didn't do that for Black people. You know, Obama wasn't the president for Black people. He's the president for the United States of America. And you cannot expect a man to stem 400 years of slavery in 8 years. You're talking 400 years. You think this man was going to be able to just come in and like wipe away everything? You know, he had to choose his battles.
And what he did do is create healthcare, create a way for us
for
as
everybody.
people. Who's using that healthcare more often?
For everybody.
The ones who don't have access to, you know, a certain type of market to buy fresh fruit. It's people who have diabetes and you know, different health issues. Like my mom died at 54 from every single type of Black, you know, she had diabetes, she had emphysema, she was on dialysis, and this is from her diet. This is just from her diet. So Obama did do something fundamental for us. And we get to be present with eyes wide open. It's not a comparison. There's a politician and there's an evil, right? Politicians always have their own policies. You may not agree with every policy, but there is an actual evil. And this man, and we get to be present to that. It's not the same game right now. This is about our lives. This is about our lives.
And I've never understood how anyone could hold office without any experience. I
don't get that either.
That right, the idea that he was actually elected and in office. I'm
And
like, he's not a
no military experience, no politics experience,
He's not
nothing.
a politician. He doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't read. Doesn't read.
He doesn't know anything. And, just to piggyback, you guys were talking about the numbers that, he has this herd immunity sort of thing. And it's not about black, I don't think. It's not about race. I think it's about class, and I think it's about money. If you've got money and you have status, you are an able-bodied winner and supporter of the Trump train. But if not, you really don't count. The herd immunity theory will allow 2 million people to die. And that's okay. That's okay with them. Well, that's honestly believe that that's okay. Well, listen, they're expendable. Okay, we lose 2 million people. That's all right. That seems to be the tone.
Well, there were two people who said the same thing you said. There was Dave Chappelle said that he's like, Trump doesn't care about the poor person. He's more inclined to deal with the wealthy person. But then you had two famous celebrities come out, Ice Cube, and I'm not clear of what Ice Cube was trying to say.
I didn't see that.
When he was talking about his support.
I watched him last night. He was with Daily Show.
Oh, was he? Okay, what he said.
Clever. And I didn't understand. It was very vague, but he was saying he had a plan and he went to both parties. And he said he didn't want to be caught in a position where, in case Trump wins, he goes, I wanted to know that I came to the table with him and said that this is my plan. And I came to Biden's table as well. He said any publicity that came out of that came from the Trump campaign, because Biden's campaign wasn't saying anything. They were keeping it under wraps. You come to us when the time arises, we'll talk game. We'll throw your name out there. But it was the Trump people. They threw it out there, before anything was signed, and it was just an idea. He said it was just a proposal. And
I can't confuse our black people. Let's come on, Ice Cube.
Right.
Let's not confuse our people. The intelligent vote, Ice Cube. Let's think about that.
Yeah, but the other thing that a lot of people are also missing is that Trump's COO of his companies and partners within another 2 of his companies is a Trump supporter. So a couple of years ago, Ice Cube put out this song called "Arrest the President," and I thought that was the greatest song to come back. I've been following Ice Cube for
forever,
30 plus years. And I'm like, but then I'm also now like wondering, what, this may have been a setup. When your COO is a avid Trump supporter, something is suspect, dude. And you know what? It's going to take me a good minute to come back on Cube.
Well, I know that's the thing, but what about there's also, no one's really going to say much about Yeezy or Kanye.
Oh my God!
But 50 came out, but I think he retracted.
He did retract. He didn't.
Yeah, but that's some more clown. That's some more clownish-ish. Right. You know what I mean? He's
he might have retracted in public, but that doesn't change their vote.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
People have voter remorse or whatever the case may be.
All right,
but going back to what you said about Dave Chappelle, is like, listen, I've had these conversations with rich white people. And they have these conversations about you poor black people, right? About you poor white people. Oh. And you guys are voting for Trump. Trump's not protecting you. He's protecting me. Because I'm rich.
Exactly. We're bringing in one more guy.
One more guest. Hello.
Steve Cohen. Join the crowd.
Hi, folks.
Steve is Steve, you're going to have to introduce yourself. Steve's a news president, but he also wrote this fabulous book, and they call him Pop. Steve, give us a quick intro, because you're catching us in the middle of a passionate voting discussion. I know you got a newscast going.
Go through my bio is so damn boring.
You got dressed up for us.
For a long time, run stations in New York, Los Angeles, Boston. Spent some time in Detroit in the mid-'70s with Mayor Young. Philadelphia is my hometown with my good friend Wilson Good, Mayor Good. So I've got some chops in some of this area.
Okay.
And I go way back. We've been buddies for over 20 years.
Absolutely.
Doing TV, and that's what I do. So I run a TV station in San Diego, and we're independent. We we're not on any side of the aisle. We're just sort of straight down the middle, old school. And that's what I do. So it's great to join you all and to see you all.
Great to have you, Steve. Haven't seen you. Hope everything is fine. It's good to see you again.
So
Yeah,
we
we're
were
good.
just jumping in about voting, and we wanted to keep it diverse, and we were just talking about Chappelle, Cube, some of the Trump train, of course, the Biden voting, the intelligent vote. Some of the voters, we have a gentleman who's voted in Queens via ballot. We got another gentleman who's doing grassroots, who was giving out T-shirts to kind of move the voting up. But there was one thing that came up that really kind of struck a chord, was this voter intimidation and suppression.
Oh, definitely.
What's your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, I think it's there. I don't think there's any question about it, that you look at the way votes are going down these days. And I think it's both sides, but I really think when you look at the GOP side of it, you've got a real intentional way of looking at, can we keep people away from the polls? I mean, I don't think there's any question about it, but I think it's subterranean. I don't think it's easy for you to find suppression per se. But I also think it's something that, Jay, that you and I have talked about before, is that 2020, you've got influencers now on social media that are impacting getting the vote out that we didn't even have in 2016.
Right.
Let's think like Charlemagne the God, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a guy. You think, well, that guy's not going to influence it, but he influences many people. And and also because he's sort of, he's an interesting guy because he's not one way or the other. He really is trying to be an honest dude. And he brings people to the table. And a lot of folks that are in the podcast world that you wouldn't think of in the old school way would have any influence, have a lot of influence.
Right.
And
Yep.
the influence is deeper than just entertainment value, I think, Jay. That's what interests me.
Well, we forgot about
are
Charlemagne,
deep
right?
people. They've
I
got
definitely
issues
forgot
on their
about
mind,
Charlemagne.
like social justice and other things.
What do you think about that, Jennifer, the Charlemagne? Because remember Biden was on Charlemagne and he made that comment, if you're not this or not that.
Right.
Again, it's this election is not an average.
It's
It's
not.
not. It's not a typical time in our history.
It's
So
bringing out the
I get
worst
it.
in
I
everybody.
get to talk about what Biden said. However, the alternative. Just think of the alternative says a lot more than what Biden said in that moment.
Right.
So we get to really be conscious. Like what is our result? What do we want? What do we want as a people? What is our quality of life are we looking to have? And do we have it right now with this administration?
Jennifer, I think that idea of looking at outcomes, right? Is like, what outcome are we after? And then what steps do we need to take to get there? Sort of solves it pretty quickly, I would think, for a lot of voters. If you say, well, what outcome do I want? I want a society that believes in equality. I want a society that's inclusive. I want everybody to have health care as a right. If you want those outcomes, it really gets easier, does it not?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's what we're striving for. We want inclusive excellence, right? That's what we're striving to have. And is that happening right now? Is that happening when there is federal military force coming to protesters, coming to rallies? And instead of looking at the grieving process, they're looking at the looting. Well, why do you think people are looting? Because they don't have the means. Why don't we have the means? Because there's systemic racism. So it's so compounded. But when it comes to our president, when it comes to, we get to be very conscious about who this person is, and is he for people? Is he for humanity?
He's for rich people.
Regardless of color. Is he for humanity? And he is not. He is for self. He is for self and self-interest.
Rich.
Well, I was holding off on the rioting because we were talking about this in our production meeting. It was like we had to put the rioting back. But since you brought it up, let me ask you, Chris, because there's a lot of it going on, protests and looting, and thanks for bringing that up, Jen.
Okay, go ahead. Go
But
ahead. Go ahead.
But I just want to, before we get to Steve, we're going to touch with Chris because there's a lot going on. A lot of people seem to be at a boiling point. You know, especially just now, and I don't even know if it's happening tonight. But
It's happening
24
tonight,
hours
right
ago,
now, in
Philadelphia.
Philly. Yeah.
Why the explosion?
There's something, and I'm about to butcher it. I'm like looking around my desk for it, but James Baldwin said it in 1968. He was giving a speech, and he said, and I'm just paraphrasing. The reason why Black people are in the streets is because of what's going on and the continual systematic racisms that they're that they're up against. And if that was 1968 and we're still here and now we're in 2020, what has happened in that time? Why is it that we're still making the same mistakes that we made, in history? Aren't we supposed to learn something from this?
To elevate,
aren't we supposed
upgrade.
to develop,
right.
grow? I mean, we are human beings. We are an evolved species. We have to start putting the pieces together and realize that, listen, as he goes on, we've been here too long. I can't go back to Africa no more than you can go back to Poland or Ireland. And we can learn something from each other.
But
let's learn something from each other.
It's not always been like this. It's not always been like this.
It hasn't been like this to this extent.
No, it has been like this. I believe it has been like this forever.
But that's part of the divide.
Yeah.
Forever?
Like Jennifer said, it's a gift of awareness.
It was never better back in the day than it is now or whatever. This is always, it's now evident and right in your face with it.
The climate is
different. Technology brought it together.
Right. We have our cameras up now.
Technology brought it here.
Okay, go.
Have our cameras up. So people are now being able to see it, record it, and report it. Right. That was something that was not available to us before. Right. And so now that's all we see. And guess what's happening in the Justice Department? Nothing.
The greatest guys, the greatest gains of the movement for civil rights and racial equality were made because folks like me and folks like you joined together with common ground towards what we both felt.
Hey, caller, 90, stand by.
It hasn't just been a Black struggle. It's also been a struggle for like-minded and well-meaning white folks to achieve that. And that goes back to William Garrison and the abolitionists. There's always been people on the right side of this issue. And the frustration for folks that have spent their lives, and I'll include myself in that, on that side of the issue, is that we've been locked out too. And we have to reunite. We can't continue this politics of identity where you're separate from my beliefs, because our beliefs are the same. When we unite our beliefs, we're stronger. That's what moves America forward.
That's what
it's not the separation, it's the unification. And I think that's what this part of what this election's about.
Well, that's why this one is super important. We have a caller really quick. What's your name and where you from?
Hi, my name is Tracy. I'm originally from Plainfield.
Hi, Tracy.
However, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to touch on when you were talking about Ice Cube going to the Republicans and the Democrats. I understand going to both parties. I also understand maybe why Biden said what he said. There's nothing he could possibly do right now, in my opinion. He said, come to me once the election is over. I feel like once the election is over and he becomes president, there's more that he could do. You understand what I mean? Like, what can he do right now with the Republican, lead in the House, the Senate, or whatever? What can he do?
And that's how I understood
he could look at it, but why give him false hope?
Gotcha.
That's how I understood it. They listened to his plan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy.
They had to table it until he could, be able to support it a little bit more soundly.
All right.
And also we get to know that our current administration, like he's in the media, right? That's one of the reasons why he got elected. He's a master in understanding that. So for optics, let's talk to Ice Cube. We don't need to talk about why or what comes out of it, or if he's supporting Trump or not, but we have a story. So we get to be smart about that.
Kanye didn't work out so well. So it's like, all right, who's next?
his party was called Birthday Party.
Who's up next?
Republican and Birthday Party. So
well, that's also something interesting, like because there's some independent candidates that we're not even.
Oh,
really
there's a lot of them.
that we're not even really paying attention to.
None of
right?
them.
And the media actually plays a role as far as we're in a society now where the media works, right? I mean, it kind of, whether it's social media or the broadcast or the
can
flash
get it out
screen,
there, yeah.
It's kind
Everything
of part
works.
of the plan. I mean, that helps everybody.
Well, listen.
You have to have a message.
There's two championships that were recently played. You had the Lakers against Miami. There wasn't a third party in that. There's only two. You have the Devil Rays against the Dodgers. There's only two. Right now,
sports analogies, huh?
All right, I like it.
One or the other.
I like it. You're right. One or the other.
Steve, you're a media guy. What are you saying? And tell us about your book really fast.
I don't think that if you don't have a message, you're going to survive in today's media. I think it's always been like that. So if you're the Justice Party, have you looked at the Peace and Justice Party's platform? I mean, you just can't even get through it. It's ludicrous. But at the same time, if you look at the GOP platform, they haven't changed it. It's the same platform they had. They didn't even take the time to redo the platform. And I do think that new voices that have something to offer, like Ice Cube, if you read what he had to say, it was meaningful. This was not some guy just trying to get publicity. He has a deep feeling and thought. Now that the Trump administration somehow found that there was something to do there, I think that's not Ice Cube's fault. He put it out there, and Biden and company could have picked that up as well. I just think when people have something to offer, it needs to be embraced by the community and not rejected, regardless of what side you go to.
Right. Okay. All right.
What about the women, Steve? What about the suburban women that seem to be an issue? You think they're deciding to abandon the?
Yeah, I don't think it's because of policy. I think that their attention span is really short. They don't like things that ruffle their world. They want their world to work. Mm-hmm. I get up in the morning, take my kids to school. My husband's making a good living. Everything's good. They just don't like to be dismissed, number one, and second, to have their life put into a scrambled egg. Donald Trump has scrambled everybody's eggs for the last made everybody nuts. And I think that's why the suburban women are leaving. It has nothing to do with policy. It has to do with lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's a big thought. What about, you were saying earlier, Frank, that you saw many elderly women, saying and who might have been disabled, which...
Yeah, walkers with their assistants, with their nurses. Yeah, there was a lot of that, and a lot of young people. Not too many Black men. Well, all the Black women that I've been exposed to have always been very passionate about their right to vote. Mm-hmm. And I remember once I was watching some television host say, "Where it was such a personal thing that we talk about it so freely." Now, but it's like people didn't discuss who they voted for.
Exactly.
It was kind of like your personal business.
Right.
But the women that my aunts, the neighborhood I grew up in, the teachers, all the women, they were always very active. Not too much the men.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Huh.
Mama bear, so to speak.
Mama bear take care of everything.
Right.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Mama bear take care of everything. So let's, Steve, you have a book. What's the book about?
I don't know. Maybe this group's interested in it. It's called Lido Road Diary. It's based on the true story, and most people don't know this, but 15,000 African American men were sent to India in World War II, and they were tasked with building an overland truck route from Lido, India to Kunming, China. That's over 1,000 miles. They had to build this in the jungle of Burma. This was a segregated unit of 15,000 guys coming in, and they did it. Winston Churchill said, "Oh, these black guys will never get that done," and they did it.
Wow.
It's one of the most important engineering feats of any war, and they did it while Japanese are shooting at them.
Wow.
So I wrote a book about a guy that I call Jefferson Good, a jazz trumpet player, and I write his diary. I write the Lido Road diary from his perspective as an African-American 19-year-old boy who goes over to Burma and what happens to him. And he takes his horn with him.
That's a movie.
Plays American jazz.
Totally a movie. That's a movie.
That's a movie. Netflix. That's a movie.
That's a movie, Steve.
Well, Steve is trying to get it out there.
All right. Well, how can people get this book?
It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You know, it's like I always say to people, you know, it's $15. If you don't like it, I'll buy you a beer. But
I like that.
You know, my dad was in Burma fighting the Japanese, and his job was to clear the roads for the African American guys. So he knew these guys really well. And when he was dying in Philly, he told me the story. Wow. And it took me 30 years to write it. But my dad said, "Steve, you don't know this story. I want to tell you the story." And two of the guys that were there worked for my Uncle Harry at his tire store in Philly. And that's the story. So, and I felt for me to put myself in the role of a young African-American man in the World War II period would be a very exciting adventure, because it gave me a chance to learn so much about what was in the minds of men in the segregated army. And the beauty of the story, of course, as it ends, is that they do get back alive. And these are the men that fuel the civil rights movement, right? Because they knew that if they could build a damn road through Burma, they could do anything.
Exactly.
And of course they did.
That's awesome.
Became the people that had the grit to say, we're going to fight back and we're going to get the rights that we deserve for what we did. I love the story. It's just so full of the energy and excitement of what an African-American man can do up against the most unbelievable odds.
Right.
Well, that's what brings this full circle, what man and or women can do against odds. And so, you know, that's kind of like a nice tie-in. But I noticed you mentioned Philly. I was trying to avoid Philly, but I just got to ask everybody about Philadelphia.
Oh, God.
I know it's an old goodness. I know it's an OMG, but what is happening in Philly? And why are we seeing this again? And it seems like it just, it's amplified with 4 or 5 days left to the election. It's scary.
Well, I think, the people who are supposed to protect and serve really have to find a way to de-escalate situations. And bring it to the point that doesn't involve taking someone's life. I watched a video recently of a situation in England, and the guy had a machete. He had a machete, and he was swinging this machete around, and they didn't shoot him. They took the time to overwhelm him to the point where they were able to de-escalate the situation. And here in America, you don't see that happening. And, this is the year, much to Jennifer's point, this is the year that we watch for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, someone die. I mean, like, when I woke up that morning and I was seeing all this happening and looking at Twitter, I'm like, well, what is this? And do I really want to see this? And I forced myself to take a look at it. And I'm just like, this man's calling out to his mother to save him. When there's 4 officers, there's people around. Like, what's going on in Philly is, a continual frustration about, and we're going to continue to see this. We're going to continue to see this. People are going to continue to, record it. And it is sad that it continues to happen, and it happens at a higher level than it does to our co-citizens.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
disproportionate. No
Yeah.
one's going to disagree with that.
Exactly. All right.
Well,
Thank you.
We're going to end on Philly?
Oh, well, no, we got other stuff. Go ahead.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
left?
no, good note. Let's
Yes.
I did a Philly note here. It's my hometown.
Philly's his hometown.
All right. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so when I was a youngster in the 60s, it was the first North Philadelphia riots. I remember them well. I was in high school at the time, and everyone was scared to death that folks from North Philly were going to come into the other areas of Philly and we were going to have a general riot. But it's interesting because the cops did learn for a short period of time, Chris, and then it all went away somehow. I mean, there was a period where, people living in West and North Philly got a pretty good treatment after that, because people began to de-escalate and cops didn't want to use their weapons. And then we got somewhere in the, after the assassination of Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy, where it all went away again. Then we were back in serious riots in 1968 to 1970, where North Philadelphia basically went away. 12th Street in Detroit was gone, and you wonder why we just can't get to a spot where a officer, white or black, doesn't matter,
Right.
just can't figure out that they can de-escalate that guy who we call 5150 in the trade, meaning somebody who is emotionally upset. You can walk away. I mean, in Philadelphia, they could have walked away from that guy. He had a knife, for crying out loud.
Exactly. They could have walked away or tased him or something.
Well,
but this is a whole new thing.
I bet you Jennifer will
Training
disagree
and
with that.
awareness.
But
Training and awareness, like Jen said earlier,
Right.
training and awareness.
Yes,
we
training.
don't want to defund. They just need more education more
education and
different division.
training and everything.
We don't need everybody with a gun to come and solve this case right now. We need
Exactly.
someone that knows the human mind, someone that knows habits, someone that knows behavior.
That's why voting is important from all levels. All levels.
Voting. Get out there and vote. Steve, could you please put your book up one more time and tell people how they can grab that? Because I have a lot of people who wants to get that right now.
It's called Lido Road Diary. You can get it on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. You can also buy it as an ebook. You want to buy it? Great. But this will set you free, man. I mean, this is a good tale. It's just fun.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Jay, as always, thanks for
Oh, thanks, Steve.
Thank you for coming.
Well, remember, it's the
Stop
Cohen
by.
report, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Take care, everybody.
All right,
All right.
take care. So I want to definitely wrap this up on a good note.
Okay.
And everything. I know a lot of people are out there trying. We got 3 days? How many days we got?
We have 4 starting tomorrow.
4 days left.
Yeah.
Before we figure out, well, we ain't gonna figure out on the day anyway.
But this is such a hot topic. It's hard to, wrap it in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
That's why I cut it right now. I mean the other one right there, because it'll go on, and we'll be here until 8:30.
Well, we're back next week.
Yes.
Okay,
we got plenty. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Always
and
on
staying with us, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me give you some hand claps on that one right there. You know I like this right here.
I want to thank you both for having us. I do want to say one thing. When you're going to vote, think about if you're voting for oneness and humanity, or you're voting for your identity, to preserve your racial identity. And we get to really think about what you're voting for and why you're voting. And humanity and compassion and education and accountability will support.
Democracy, please, democracy.
Okay.
I like it.
Well, for all the people who are standing in these long lines,
such as myself.
Yes, you stayed how long? 2-3 hours?
I know I got there at 9:50, and I think I wrapped up about, I can't even remember. I almost want to say 2, but I'm gonna say 1:30 for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like a 10 to 1:30 action.
That's a job right there.
That was a full Sunday.
That's a job. So
that was going to church.
That sure was.
That was going to
church. And we
church.
can't even go to church no more. But anyways,
it's in your heart, right? It's in your heart. It's passion. But anyways,
it's my heart too. Definitely
your
my
heart
heart.
is cold.
For all the people who are standing in these long lines, and it's cold outside now. The weather just changed. I want y'all to have fun. Just think about making sure you hit that pen on the paper to vote for your person, or either push that button. But while you're standing in the long line to do that, I want to play this video for you. You know how we roll. We turn anything into a party. So shout out to Philly for turning it into a party while everybody was out there waiting to vote. Hopefully I can do something like that, but I'm getting up early. I'm scared to put my ballot in the box.
Bring an apple. That's what I did.
Bring an apple?
I brought an apple.
And a peanut butter jelly
goodie bag.
and everything.
You need a goodie bag.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
you do have to plan. It's a serious thing.
Definitely want you all to shout yourselves out. We're about to wrap it up and get up out of here. Frank, tell everybody.
Dunn.
Yes,
Frank
Dunn.
Pleasure to be here. Guys, I have this virtual episodic series called Slices of Life, available on our website, Creative Stages Entertainment. That's CSENYC.org. A couple of players are sitting right here before me right now. We have a lot of support, and check us out.
That's right. All right, Mary. Jennifer.
Yes, so I'm the owner of Mary Mimi Media, thought-provoking storytelling to empower the global feminine, and I'm also work with the Paris Foundation. So check us out in Harlem. We help children in poverty get out of poverty through STEM education, and go and vote. It is very important for our democracy and for our legacy as people.
That's right. And Mr. Chris Beans.
Yeah, I have a couple of things going on. I have By All Means Leadership Alliance, which is a youth leadership development nonprofit that I just launched in June. And so you can go on bamlainc.org to take a look at that. And I'm about to launch a new media platform called Beyond the Protests with an S.com. You can go to beyondtheprotests.com. And it's a new media platform for the ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. And we're going to be talking about a whole lot of things and promoting a whole lot of people and putting together a whole lot of intellectual conversations.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
all right.
thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being
I was trying to friend everybody while we were moving.
Anyways, thank you for being a guest on our show and everything. Let me bring
seriously,
it up.
come back. We got 4 more days.
Ooh, Shiza.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Jay.
All right,
Thank
so I was
you.
just trying to bring the music. Thank you all for coming. Thank you
you.
all for being a part of the show and
And
everything.
where can they find us and what's happening and
All right.
all that good stuff?
I'm trying to get the music up. Hold on 1 second. Not that one. That's the
wrong one.
Okay, sorry, y'all. But anyways, you can find us on YouTube, Always On with Tonya and Jay. You can definitely find us on Apple, Always On with Tonya and Jay. And Google, we're everywhere. Just, search Always On with Tonya and Jay. Sometimes it's the AND, sometimes it's just the @ sign.
Yeah, but thank God we're back, season 3.
All right.
Oh, we can't even.
Yeah. Boom, boom. There you go.
Boom, boom. All right, new
All right.
chimes. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out. Have a great night.
Have a
Please
super
go out there and
weekend.
vote. Vote.
All right.
Vote. November 3rd. Vote.
We got it. We got it, sister.
Bye.
Later. Jay, you ice. Get on the phone. Call
Oh
her.
my God, Jay, you ice. I'm used to looking up and you sitting there.
That's all right. We got homeboy here. We good. All right. That's all right. That's a strike. Be out. Thank you very much. Well, that was fun.